Hello, today we're joined by J.R. Waltzmeyer, who runs the Office of Victim Advocate Address Confidentiality Program. Hello, J.R.
Good morning, Tara. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I just have a few questions about our Address Confidentiality Program, which is sometimes referred to ACP. Would
Yep,
you mind telling us a little bit more about what the ACP program is?
absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. The Address Confidentiality Program, or ACP, is a program created by state law here in Pennsylvania. It provides an alternative address to victims of domestic violence. That address happens to be a post office box here in Harrisburg. All of your mail will then be received here and then forwarded to the address that you provide us as your next mailing address. If it's done correctly and it's done in conjunction with a move, the only people who would be aware of your residential address would be you and me.
Wonderful. So you said it's for victims. What kind of victims are eligible?
According to statute, victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, and childhood abduction by a parent are eligible to apply. According to state law, also, the application is the only documentation necessary. So for people who maybe fled without their legal documentation or fled without that copy of the protective order, please don't worry. That's not a deal breaker for joining the ACP. If you complete the ACP application and you meet the statutory guidelines in terms of the type of victimization you're indicating, then I believe that you would likely be a great applicant for the program.
Great. So what happens if I apply for the program and I have additional members living in my house, such as a significant other, spouse, and or children? Would they also be eligible for the program?
So minor children, so long as they are in your home, they are covered. It is the address that is protected, not the individuals. And so the address itself would be protected for those people, for your children. For significant others, we have a special designation called adult member of the same house. If I'm a stalker and I get paid to professionally stalk you every once in a while just to make sure I can't find you, one of the things that I would use to stalk you would be other people that I know are living with you when I can't find you. Mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, that sort of thing. So absolutely, all adults that reside in the same home as the ACP applicant should complete an application of their own and should mark the designation adult member same house so that they can't be used to stalk them as well.
Okay. So speaking of that, sometimes like when I Google my name, things will come up on the internet, like well, maybe where I previously lived or things like that. Can you tell me why my address might still be on the internet and available?
So one of the reasons we ask you to move immediately prior to joining the program is just that. These days, the idea that you don't have a paper trail that connects your name to your residential address is absolutely ludicrous. Because of the internet, we all have that paper trail. I'm very fond of telling everybody I was a teacher way back in the day. And if you Google search my government name, you would find not only both of the addresses my wife and I have lived at since we've been married the last 30 years, but you'd find all my teaching contracts, my coaching contracts, and indeed even my salary here at the government because my entire life is public. Indeed, so is some of yours. So one of the reasons we ask that you move prior to joining the program is because the strength of the program is not erasing the existing paper trail. It is preventing the development of a paper trail that connects your name to your residential address. And we want to make sure that that's what we're doing from the very, very beginning of you living in that address. We also have some resources provided to us by the FBI to have your name, that you can actually use these resources to kind of scrub your name from some of these databases. But I want to give you a word of caution. Every one of these databases requires a different procedure, a different protocol, sometimes payment to have your name removed. And the idea that you're going to be able to remove your name from every single database out there for me is kind of a ludicrous idea. I want to make sure that you start afresh, you start blank slate or tabula rasa, and you are in an address that is not connected to your name, and we put you into the ACP program along with your significant others.
Yeah. So would my ACP address come up in a search?
Yeah, it should. Your
Okay.
ACP address and your ACP number are the only pieces of public knowledge related to the program. We will not confirm or deny anything else. But if somebody calls and asks if you're in the program, we will tell them, yes, you are. and we'll tell them your ACP number. And the really cool thing is that information doesn't disclose anything to anybody except us, because the only people who know what that corresponding address is connected to that ACP number would be myself and the other members of the ACP staff. So we will absolutely go to every length to make sure that the only people that have that information are us, and you should too.
Okay. So I shouldn't panic if after I join the program and I find my ACP address maybe on the internet.
No, matter of
Okay,
fact, that's normal. I
good.
would hope that that's the case, because I want, when he looks you up, or she, whoever your stalker happens to be, I want them to find the ACP address. And frankly, if they want to show up at the Crooked Hill Lane post office box that we use, I probably don't look anything like you. If you if you are unfortunate enough to be a balding, long-haired man with a beard, then I'm sorry, you probably do look a little like me, but they're probably not going to be able to track you simply by the fact that we show up to pick up that mail. So I don't want you to worry at all. Once you're in the program, if your PO box address is coming up as connected to your name, that's exactly what we want, because nobody can use that address for any other purpose besides to connect you to us. And we're not providing any other information with regards to your address or any other identifiers.
Okay. Um, so would my actual physical address, which you would have access to under the program, would my actual physical address ever be disclosed to any entity or persons?
So the law does require that we disclose that address in some very, very, very limited circumstances, and these would include things that manifest as a danger to you or to the people living with you. If the police call and they need to do a welfare check because they're worried that somebody in the home is going to commit suicide, then we do have to release the information. Likewise, if you become the subject of a police investigation and you're going to be charged with felony charges, you should probably not anticipate that we're going to be able to protect you for long. Um, there are some limited circumstances if you become involved with the criminal justice system by which we can continue to protect your address. But the moment that you're found guilty, it becomes much more difficult for us to do that, because oftentimes your address then becomes a publicly known address, like a county jail or a state prison. So we can't protect those addresses, but we're here when you get back out. Should you still need us, it's simply a matter of calling and reactivating us so that your information continues to be confidential. There are some very limited circumstances. We tightly control the release of that information, even when the waiver does meet legal requirements. We tell the recipient of your address who's allowed to see it, where it has to be stored, how it has to be stored, who should have access to it, how long they have access to that address, how it has to be destroyed, and then we're allowed to ask for proof positive that the address has been purged and destroyed as required by us. So we will tightly control that in an attempt to make sure that even in a case like that, your address is still confidential and you're still safe.
Okay. So if somebody reaches out and wants my address and they're eligible to receive it, I would receive notice from either you or another member of the ACP team that it would be occurring.
Provided you're not part of a police investigation, the answer to that question is absolutely yes. Should a
Okay.
judge call and demand the address, I'm going to provide it, and I am going to tell you that we had to provide it. Should Children and Youth Services initiate an investigation, we're going to have to provide the address, and then I'm going to reach out and let you know. Should you become the subject of a police investigation and the police reach out to me because they need the address, at that point in time, until you're charged, I will not be advising you that your information has been shared with the police. I can't compromise the police investigation. Up until the moment you're charged, that information is confidential between myself and the police. After the police have charged you, of course, I'll reach out and let you know that we had no choice but to provide the address and why.
So JR, can you tell me how safety planning plays a role in the address confidentiality program?
Sure can. Great question, Tara. So unlike witness protection, which is a federal program offered to people who testify against drug cartels and the mafia and things like that, we don't have a lot of resources to do things like relocate or to change names or social security numbers. Indeed, the only thing I can protect is your address. As a result of the differences between us and witness protection, Additional safety planning is always needed in conjunction with any address confidentiality program, whether it's Pennsylvania's or some other states. You want to work with a local nonprofit domestic violence or sexual assault agency that has a knowledge, a working knowledge of locally available resources that may be available in your area to help with things like housing and food and heat and other types of protection. There are some counties that have some plugins for things like cameras, so they can have cheap cameras or cheap security systems installed on your home for the purposes of augmenting your safety. So please, in addition to applying for the address confidentiality program, work with a local advocate, a local domestic violence or sexual assault advocate, specifically on safety planning in your area. As a result of the fact that there are 67 counties and there are only a few of us, we are able to do some very generic safety planning, but we can't be experts in all 67 counties because they're all so drastically different from one another. Again, so we want to make sure that you're reaching out to local nonprofit domestic violence, sexual assault agencies and resources for the purpose of safety planning, specifically with an awareness of resources in your area.
So if somebody has additional questions or wants to talk about the program further, what's the best way for them to get information on this?
Give us a call, 800-563-6399. Send us an email through the resource account. Just if you call the number, ask for the ACP. They'll give you either myself, Adele, or Nicole. The three of us handle the program at the moment and can answer any questions you might have. Additionally, if you would like to apply for the program, if you reach out, we will gather some additional information from you and we can provide you with an application that you can have returned to us, well, as quickly as you have it completed. There are some people that are absolutely in an emergency to get this information to us, and I have provided the application at 9 o'clock in the morning and received it by 3 o'clock in the afternoon from some people. However it is that we can answer your questions, however it is that we can take your application and help make you safer, you let us know, and we're going to do everything we can to provide what you need or to send you to the place that can.
Great. Thank you so much, JR.
Tara, thank you. I appreciate you raising awareness for stalking and all the efforts that you make to make our program more readily available to the people of the Commonwealth. Thank you very much.